Lady, give it a second for.
Yeah, I think it is, Manny. I welcome to a new show that we have for Patriot News Network. We would like to welcome Manny behind the mic. This is a good friend of mine, Manny. He's been we've been friends for several years. So enjoy the show. I'm gonna let him and Troy take over. Enjoy the
Troy,
show.
what up? Glad you made it. Troy, that's Shane. Shane, that's Troy.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. Just figured I'd jump in real quick and welcome you guys.
Can you hear me okay? Because I'm having technical difficulties again.
Yeah, I can hear you all right.
Yeah, we can hear you real good.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip the headphones then because I don't know what's going on.
Yep, no problems with the sound, that's for sure.
Okay.
Carolyn Brown, welcome to the show. My name is Manny. The program is Manny Behind the Mic. And teaming up with the Patriot News Network for a little bit. We're going to try this out and see how it goes. And with me is Troy. Anytime we've got a conversation revolving around kids and what the heck is going on with kids, it's mind-boggling. Hey, Jamie. And this is, in case you need to know how to pronounce this, it's gelatina, which is a word for gelatin in Spanish. Gelatina. Hey there. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was watching news today, and then I think it was early this morning, or was it last night, when I got a notification from Doug Mastriano was commenting on masks coming back to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, you're kidding me. Ileana, welcome. Where'd you go? There she is. Oh, nope. Moving too fast here. Ileana, hi there. And Gewalt, hello from Germany. Welcome. Irma, welcome. Gene, hi there. Thanks for stopping by. Lori, hi, Lori. Hope you're doing better. So the masks are back. Now, we're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, government buildings. Or anywhere indoors. I mean, anywhere indoors is what they're saying in New York. In Pennsylvania, sorry. And I think it's like that in Pennsylvania, too, in New York, if I'm not mistaken. And you know what's going to happen next is they're going to re-implement it back into schools.
Yeah.
You know that's coming.
Manny, you know why masks are coming back? Do you know what two of the problems are? One, the primaries are coming up. So they're going to scare people into the old, well, let's do the mail-in ballots. That's the number one thing. And the number two thing is testing. If they stop testing, guess what happens? COVID goes where?
Yeah, exactly.
Away.
Incredible. And
they're testing in the schools and stuff. I don't know what they're doing in Texas there, but here in Pennsylvania, they have the Test to Stay program, and a lot of schools opted into it because, they were Governor Wolf gave like $80-some million to this company to allow the students to test themselves.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous. So, for those who don't know, masks have been the cause of a lot of, I don't want to say the complete downfall of children, but definitely a major hit on their persona. And that and together with something else that we're going to hit on in a minute. But you put a mask on, people, all the basic things we've been talking about the last 2 years. They can't see each other's faces. They can't see smiles. They can't read lips and learn to read lips, even ever so slightly. And it's just becoming, it's a horrible thing. It's depressing to the kids. It's just a horrible situation all around. I don't know why. And not to mention that masks don't even work.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't work.
And I think that's a fun. It's the scariest part of this whole thing that's been going on. I mean, as a health professional working for a health company, I see it all the time, and we have people coming to us. Hey, can we do these protocols, or is there a certain protocol that we can use that would be better for our children? And now you have the mainstream media that's hyping up another scandemic.
Yeah.
And the scamdemic is basically they're talking about a hybrid coronavirus.
Yeah, and I don't even remember what this latest and this one's going to be coming out now. And I used to keep track of them, and obviously it was easy because there were only a few. But every few months, once the one started to fade away, now the next one is in line already. And I don't even remember what it's called. I suppose it doesn't matter.
In the schools, school related, and this isn't just in Pennsylvania. This is actually across the United States. So, COVID number one is kind of a domino effect, right? There was staff shortages, and then when there was absentee, quarantines, isolation, then we had school closures, right? Now, coming out of that, now what do we have? We have mental health challenges. The rate of violence is high, misbehavior, and the number one thing is lost instructional time. That, let's face it, these kids will never get that back.
No.
They can try to say that all they want, that the kids are going to get that back, but they're never going to get that back. And as far as masking goes, I mean, it interrupted their socialization skills. Speech dropped.
Yep.
We were like in the United States, I mean, grades dropped significantly. I think it was like somewhere between like 25 and 35%. So how that'll never get made up. I don't see how it does. And now we're not even teaching anymore. Now it's all these ideologies and stuff and are being pushed onto these kids. Politics invades schools more than the actual ABCs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bad right now, and I don't. The only way out of it is really just like we said before, starting in the community, cleaning up the school boards, and letting it filter into, bigger cities and stuff.
And getting the parents to step up more and go, whoa,
yeah,
enough is enough of this crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Wendy's right. It hinders social development, social skills, dealing with each other, kids dealing with each other. When you got a mask over their face, you can't see expressions. You can't see smiles. You can't see anger. You can't see confusion that you can normally see on a face. And it's just gone. And this is a problem bigger than what they're trying to make it. They're trying to downplay it like it's not a big deal. Tammy, real quick, I had to do a drive-through COVID testing at CVS for my surgery, and CVS wanted me to open the metal box. Open a metal box. I was so scared. The card in front of me was positive for COVID, so I had to. Oh, so you had to open up. So you got to open the box to grab your own little test from the little box they have, right? Like, oh, geez. Well, that sucks.
So Troy, a lot of people on the channel actually don't know who you are. So can you share a little bit about what?
Yes, Troy. Where? Yeah. Who do you represent? I can tell them, but you can do it a lot smoother than I can.
Well, I'm in Erie, PA, Erie County, and we started a group called Erie County Parents Protecting Children. Basically, we're just advocating for parental choice as far as masking and vaccinations. A lot of people called us anti-maskers, which That's not true. We just wanted, you know, parents to have the choice to mask their kids or not in school. And then, you know, and we have other things. There's so many layers, like the social emotional learning, the critical race theory, and now the biggest one is the transgender being pushed onto the kids in school. So we're trying to we're being hit with all these different things at one time, and I kind of feel like the masks were a distraction actually to the parents. Like while we were like focused on getting the masks off the kids, the education system was backdooring a lot of other things. So, you know, so that's kind of where we are. We're just kind of advocating for parents to have parents should be in charge of any medical decisions made for their kids. Anything related to talking about, you know, sex and whatnot. And a lot of this stuff is being pushed into schools, and kids aren't even like learning the basics of, you know, the educational part of why they're in school.
Yeah, the basic stuff, grammar, you know, mathematics, simple mathematics. Instead, they're learning, oh, you know, so and so is trans, and it's okay, to be trans. But I mean, they're really, really pushing it. It's becoming a huge problem.
And I think that was my biggest problem with a lot of the sexualization is, I mean, I come from the ideology of, hey, you do what you want. I'll leave you alone. Allow me to do what I need, and I'm not going to jam my ideology down your throat. You don't do it down my throat or my children's throat.
Yeah, my whole thing has always been, don't be a mask hole, right? If you want to wear your mask, all right, wear your mask. I'm not going to make fun of you. Unless you're in your car by yourself and you're wearing a mask while you're driving, then I might make fun of you a little bit, but I'm not gonna bully you because you're wearing a mask. Just like I don't want to be bullied because I'm not wearing a mask. And you know, if somebody complains, or you're in a store, some retail outlet, and they want you to put on a mask, all right, you know what? Put on your mask, go in and do your business, and then get out and be done with it. Don't be a Karen. I don't want to see videos of you guys on Facebook, you know, being called a Karen and stuff. So, yeah, Troy's right. It's not about anti-masking. It's about the freedom of choice. And when it comes to the kids, our own kids, your own kids, and then you see videos like the teachers strapping the mask on a kid with tape.
Yeah.
But man, you know.
And in my opinion, that's child abuse.
And how parents don't get more upset is really disturbing. I mean, that was my kid. I'd be after school. They'd have to hold me back with police officers. I'm like, what the hell are you putting your hands on my kid for? I don't understand the lack of standing up for your kid, for your child. I'm sorry, when I say kid, I don't mean insignificant. I just it's a quick term.
Yeah.
I don't understand not standing up for your child, just letting things happen, let the school deal with it, which seems like the easy thing to do, right? Just, the school, you know, whatever. And that bothers. It can't be right.
It's not. Let me ask you guys this. So if you were to just in any normal day life, if either one of you two were to talk to any child about sex or sex orientation, what do you think you would be labeled as, or what do you think would happen to you?
Well, I can assure you, coming from what I've done in my past, I would be immediately reported for grooming.
So, but in a school setting, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like if it were you,
in my opinion, but
what I mean is, like, we would face legal ramifications, right?
Yep.
If we were doing that. But in a school setting, it's okay that you know, the teacher discusses that with your kids. Like, that's where we are in society today, and it's dangerous.
It's
it is.
absolutely dangerous. And that's the ideology shift that a lot of people we're seeing all across the board, where people need to understand that it's okay to stand up and say no more.
Yeah,
The sooner the people understand that, or the sooner everybody as a whole, whether you're conservative, liberal, it doesn't matter. No political. This transcends political differences.
I think, yeah,
as soon as you realize that the people that are pushing this are in the minority, that's when the actual power really.
I know, but everybody is so afraid of what can happen if I step up and say something. I mean, can you imagine if every single parent said, "Don't touch my kid"? You're not going to. For one, I mean, the masking issue just leads to everything else. You know, they want to get away with. Let's see how far we can control these people. Implement masks, mandate them, and let's see how many people resist, and how many people don't resist. And right now, unfortunately, at least in my community here in Texas, South Texas, there's not maybe there's one complaint, but nobody fights back on it. And people don't know it's a mandate. It's not a law. So legally, they can't arrest you. They can't keep you from school just because you're not wearing a mask. That would be against the law in itself.
That one lady that commented there about the special needs children being behind, she's right. And think about it this way. Like those kids that rely on seeing somebody talk or listening to somebody talk has been greatly disrupted for them because they've been around these teachers and other kids around them that have been put in a mask, so they can't read lips, and they can't hear what's being said. So she's right. I mean, they are further behind. And like I said in the beginning, how does this get made up? It doesn't. There's staff shortages all across the United States. I mean, teachers resigned for lots of reasons, right? They resigned because they were overwhelmed with work, and they were also, I mean, how many teachers were working from home while the kids were in a classroom with a substitute, and the substitute sitting in the classroom doing absolutely nothing? The teachers at home, more than likely perfectly healthy, but they're identified as a close contact, so they're sending the students the work. You know what I mean? And they're just overwhelmed, and a lot of them just resigned. So
yeah, and you got teachers, instead of teaching, now they're being healthcare police. Who's wearing their mask, who's not wearing their mask, who needs to get tested, who doesn't. And so instead of doing their job 100% of the time, now they're doing it 60-40 because they're too busy policing about masks and about social distancing and about testing and who's going to get swabbed and then you got this thing called pool testing, right?
Right.
Where they'll test everybody, send in the results, and if one person's got it, then the whole class has got it.
That's correct.
Right? That's how that works.
Right. Yep.
And how ridiculous is that?
I know.
And like I said, there's not enough people stepping up and going. It's like, what was that infomercial years back? Stop the insanity. It's ridiculous.
And like you said, it stops with not just the parents, but it has to stop with everybody. Like everybody's gotta. I saw something today. There was a poll put out, and it said that 60% of Americans still support and want mask mandates. That's a big number. 60%'s a lot.
That is.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, 20% is a lot. We got to get that number down somehow, and I don't know how else to get it down other than to keep advocating for what we've been doing. But
besides the fact that there's no real study saying that masks work, not even 99%. I don't think there's any study at all. But that's what's being pushed out there. That the mask is one of the main lone things that's going to protect you from all this. And I gave the example a couple of weeks ago. I put one of those N95s on. I don't know if it's going to let me show it because of my green screen. Yeah, it's one of those N95s because I had to spray paint something in the backyard, and I'm just spray painting at a good distance. It's like I was breathing spray paint. I mean, and we know how fine of a mist that is, and it was still coming into my mask, and I had to, double strapped, and it was fitted and everything, and I can still get paint. So don't tell me that an N95, even if it's an N95, don't tell me that's foolproof.
And that's the thing. I mean, if people really want to go back and do the research, so the NIH did a study back in 2005. It went from 2005 to 2015, and that study shows that the masks don't work. And they're talking N95 and the KN95. There's still particulates, especially when dealing with viral matter.
Yeah.
There's still particulates that are able to get through.
Yep.
I mean,
the
the easiest comparison to make is take a chain link fence with a handful of sand and see how much the chain link fence actually stops that sand.
Yeah, it's true. It's very much like that. And then not everybody wears the N95 masks. They wear the masks you get at the dollar store, 2 for $1 or 2 for $5 or whatever. And it's just a single layer of fabric. There are no masks that are all the same. There's not something regulated that says, yep, this is the end all be all of masks. You must wear this. And there's none of that.
There is, but you have to, in order to actually have that, you have to work in a level 2 or greater biolab to have that kind of setup, or work in a hospital with a full vented mask.
And then the other part of this is that aside from the masks, kids have very strong immune systems, and they're not going to get sick anyway. They're not likely to get sick and die from this. And I know they kept saying, "Oh, you send kids back to school, they're going to die, and they're going to be hospitalized, and they're going to die." Didn't happen,
right?
And the same thing they're talking about. Oh, when we get back to pro sports, now we got to fill the arenas. Oh man, now it's going to become a super spreader event.
Never happened.
Didn't happen.
Nope.
So, who are you going to believe? Everybody says trust the science. So, like, the science says kids have very strong immune systems, and they can fight off anything. They've got stronger immune systems than a lot of adults.
Well, not only that, but the CDC recently deleted like 400 deaths for children from their COVID list. So not only did it not affect the kids, but then they lied about the deaths. And have you guys ever looked at the packaging that those like the masks that you were talking about, Manny? Like you can go to like the Dollar General or Walmart. They literally say right on them, FDA not approved.
Oh yeah, even on some of the N95 ones on the back, it says this will not protect against COVID-19.
What's that?
It says it just like that.
It's just amazing to me how people have been so brainwashed, and they continue on that same path.
Yeah, it's I don't know what has to happen, and now they want to scare us with another variant and another wave of this thing's gonna kill you, and this thing is even more contagious than the last thing was.
I know. Which
it wasn't. You don't see hospitals full of people, and I know Ani here brought up a good point. She said stupid question, but maybe it's not. Are they going to be rewriting biology books and take out the anatomy, reproductive parts, and rewriting the English books, to change the pronouns? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's already in the works.
That's a good question, and that could be one of the reasons why they're pushing this so hard in the schools. But maybe, like you said in the beginning, Manny, if parents stand up and start pushing back, this might not happen. But she's onto something. I would suspect that that's probably coming next. I mean, we have our superintendent here. Every time he sends an email out, he always puts pronouns after his name. You know, so
I don't
so
know.
I don't know, man. You can't say anything because the moment you do, you're labeled as something. You can't have an opinion on anything because if you do, you're racist or you're homophobic. But that's where people got to stand their ground and just be like, look, if that's what you think about me, fine. I'm not. I don't really care what you think, but this is how I feel and this is how it's going to be. If more people had that mentality, we probably would be in a better position.
Yeah, I mean, the only way this is going to get better is by you parents stepping up and saying, I had enough. I mean, what has to happen? You're going to have to homeschool your kids or threaten to take them out altogether? I mean, you know, it's kind of like you're going to go on strike, take all your kids out. Then what are they going to do? You know, I know that's not the answer, but I mean, what's going to happen? What has to happen?
Yeah.
What has to happen? You got to attend all the school board meetings. You know, you got to say what you need to say in front of them when they allow you to. Whatever, it's a couple of minutes. What is it? 2 minutes, 5 minutes that they allow sometimes.
3 to 5. It depends on what you sign up for. But I think that parents are caught in a lot of crosshairs, and one of them is, you got to work. You know what I mean? So how do you fix that? Especially nowadays, you need 2 incomes, in a family. So now you got both parents working.
Yeah.
So the education system kind of has parents painted into a corner, but that doesn't mean that you can't still stand up and fight against it. The more you push back, I think the better chance you stand in breaking this all down and eliminating it.
Yeah, like every community needs to have, like what you have in Erie County, a parent coalition.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys got to get together and, I don't know, as one unit, go to the school or complain, or I don't know. I'm sure you got the best ideas what they should do as a group. I agree with Dana. It's definitely not the teacher's fault. The actual teachers who care and that are legit and old school and they actually care about the kids, it's definitely not their fault. They're just getting overwhelmed and sidetracked with so much other crap they have to do that they're not allowed to do their job, what they love to do, right?
To a point, though, there are teachers that want to push certain ideologies on kids, though. So I agree, but then I disagree because, like, I don't know if you saw that video I sent you earlier, but look at that first grade teacher that was speaking and saying that, when a child's born, when a doctor, delivers a child, he said that they guess the gender. You don't guess the gender. It's either a boy or a girl. Like, and this is the first grade teacher, like telling kids this stuff. So teachers are part of the problem. Not all of them. The biggest problem is actually the teachers union. That's the biggest problem. I've talked to teachers here in Erie County, off the record. They don't want their name being brought up. You kind of go through the same thing there, Manny, with doctors and stuff. Yep. And these teachers told me that they want out of the union. They don't want to be a part of the union anymore.
Yeah, what is going on with that? Unions are just not. They aren't doing what teachers expect them to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like stand up for them and go, whoa, let's have a discussion here. It's like that's not happening anymore either. It seems like even the unions are hesitant to speak up and say anything.
It's like the union funds the Democratic Party, right, to push their narrative. Then the Democratic Party kind of helps fund them to push what they want. So it's almost like a money laundering scheme, kind of like, COVID. COVID was a money laundering scheme. A lot of people disagree with that and don't want to hear it. I'm not saying that it wasn't something to take serious. But at the end of the day, it was literally a money laundering scheme.
Yeah, that's just bad. Melissa Lopez says the adult human teachers didn't want to get COVID. What horrible people. See, but there was no proof of that either.
But they were all vaccinated.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, when 90, okay, so I think the last official number that I saw was 89% of teachers across the United States are vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And 100% of all the teachers across the country have either had COVID or are vaccinated. So when we start talking about, oh, they don't want to get sick, well, I understand that, but taking away natural immunity.
Yeah, so if you don't if you don't believe in the vaccination, then why get the vaccination?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that gets me too. I got mine reluctantly. I got mine. This was March of last year, so that's when I started going. You know what? I'm not going to wear the mask unless I have to somewhere, and I haven't worn it since. And I was on airplanes all the time with the job I had. I'd put them on all the time because I had to. It's a FAA thing, but if you get vaccinated and you still feel like you have to wear a mask, then you don't trust that vaccine. Then what did you get vaccinated in the first place for? That's just my thing.
And just I want to kind of touch on what Melissa said. So the teachers, and I'm just going to talk specifically about Erie County, but I can only imagine it was probably like this across the United States. And this came from teachers that I talked to. They told me that the union wanted them to not basically have a personal life. They did not want them going to bars or clubs in the beginning of the pandemic because they didn't want them to contract COVID and bring it into the classroom, right? Mm-hmm. So the teachers said, well, no, you can't tell us what to do with our personal life. But then the teachers then flipped the script and said, well, we don't want to go to school and teach because we don't want the kids to get us sick. Well, hang on a minute. You were okay with going to a bar or a club. You had no problem doing that with the risk of catching COVID. But then you told the school, well, I'm not going to come in and teach because I don't want these kids to get me sick. Does that make any sense? And that's not my opinion. That's a fact. That came right from teachers' mouths. So, and if that's happening in little old Erie County, it's happening everywhere.
It's got to be the same thing that's happening everywhere, and it doesn't make sense at all. Oklahoma's done with the mandates, except for a few sheep, and actually, a lot of us are against mandates. I don't know. There's a lot of teachers, a lot of educators who are for it. They keep, again, we're talking about an illness that has what is it? The last number I recall, 98 point something percent.
That's
recovery rate, or something that you'll beat no matter what.
And children actually have a higher. So the last official total that I seen was 99.987%.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, Melissa's right. At least here in Brownsville, a lot of these buildings are old. There's no HVAC system in there. Some of them, the windows don't even open. They're fixed. And the ones that do open don't have any screens on them. So there's no ventilation going on. And this is a real problem right here.
Right, but they also got millions of dollars to fix their ventilation systems, and even to the point where the CDC had made a recommendation about a portable HEPA filter system that you could put in the classroom that vents out the window, that filtered 99.9% of all bacteria and viruses. So they had the money to do it. They just didn't do it. They took the money, but they continued to mask the kids and not use the money what it was supposed to go for. And that's everywhere.
And the school board says there's no money. We're talking about teachers who've got to pay for their own PPE. Mm-hmm. Teachers who got to buy their own Lysol wipes, their own masks,
And that's crazy because I know, like here in South Dakota where I am, I know Manny is down south, but teachers were doing that. And then I got a phone call from my daughter's Head Start program. And they told us, hey, we're going to start masking, forcing the kids to wear masks in the classroom. And I said, oh, no, you don't.
Hmm.
We ended up pulling my daughter out, and she's a lot better off for it. And I mean, if you really want to know what's going on in the school systems, follow the money.
Hmm.
I'm sure you guys are
Yes.
paying attention to that closely, Troy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we're talking big money too. I think these schools are getting tons of money.
$243 million.
And if they're not using it for improvements like they're supposed to, where's that money going?
Well, the American Rescue Plan gave schools throughout the United States $200 billion. $200 billion. That's a lot of money. Just real quick, Manny, I wrote this down from the other day.
Yep.
99.5% of campaign contributions came from the National Education Association and went to the Democrats in the 2022 election cycle.
Holy
So
crap.
see how they launder money? The national education system funds the Democratic Party, and then they fund them back. It's just a vicious cycle that, somehow needs to be broken. And I think the only way to break it is to disrupt the teachers union. Maybe parents need to start getting on the teacher side and backing them and helping them get out of the union.
Yeah, it's a huge mess, and now we're going to see what's going to happen again with this latest variant that they're going to try to push on everybody and put that fear factor back in. So now the other part of this conversation, again with kids, is why are people trying to sexualize our kids at such a young age? I remember when I was growing up. I remember when I was little. Sex was not even on my mind, and I was more concerned about playing sports or watching TV or cartoons or whatever. But it was never I don't recall anybody ever. And I grew up in Chicago, right? So even then in Chicago, big city at the time, there was never this kind of push like this in school where, you have to learn this, and it's okay to be to feel like a girl, or it's okay to have feelings like that. It's like, when I grew up, sometimes boys put their mom's heels on, and sometimes the girls put their dad's boots on, and it's okay, it's cute. And then a couple days later, they were playing with their trucks and their dolls again.
Mm-hmm.
You just let it go. You don't take that one thing and now you want to do what do they call those, puberty blockers? Oh, he must want to be a girl. He's putting mom's heels on. Stop the puberty. Let's start making him a female right now, or close to female. It's like, and that's on the parents. It's like, what happened to these people growing up that they think it's okay to change the gender of a child, not even 10 years old?
And I think that's criminal, in my opinion. If we were to do that, we would lose our kids if it was back in the 90s.
I don't understand. I wish I could read that. I'm gonna say he's not in favor of vaccines.
No obligated vaccine, no green pass.
Ciao. Gerardo, English or Espanol, please. But I think we get it. Italian. Okay, Italian. I thought it was okay. Awesome. You can always get what you want. Yep. And I don't know. It seems like, and then the books that they're finding in some of these classrooms about. Oh man, the most recent one that I can remember, it was a few months ago. and they were reading a story about how it's okay for a teacher to have a relationship with a young person, a student, that it was okay for them to be physical. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's like, who even allowed that book in? Who made it? Who said it was okay for that book to be available to these little kids?
Did you hear about that guy who was a teacher in, I think it was Montana, that was sentenced to like 2 weeks in prison for having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. The standard sentence on something like that is 5 years in Montana, but he only got 2 years or 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I mean, We're-
Yeah, that something's wrong with that picture too.
yeah, but I mean, it goes along with the same theme of hypersexualization of our children. We've had over 25 books pulled out of our school library, in the elementary school library. 25 books, all promoting the sexualization of children.
Yeah, see, I remember, everybody remember the movie Footloose?
I've never watched it, man.
You didn't watch the original Footloose?
Nope.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
did.
watched it.
So there's a one scene where a couple of parents take it upon themselves. They go to the library and they start burning books that they thought were, immoral, and some of them were some classic novels. And the pastor came, he's like, "What are you doing? You can't burn these books. Satan's not in these books. Satan is right here." And but those were not even the kind of books that we're talking about now. Those are classic novels, right?
Yeah.
Now you're talking about books that are borderline explicit, sexually explicit. And say, how do we get to that? How do we get to this point? What happened? I know I'll never get the answer, but what happened to these these parents?
It started back in the 70s, when the school boards started getting overtaken by ideological activists.
Yeah, it's ruining us. And to Ida's comment here, yeah, we're in South Texas. It was 109 degrees the other day, and some of these schools don't have air conditioning. Granted, they're the older schools, the older buildings, but you think they'd have the budget for it, which they probably do. And I just wonder why their ventilation systems are not getting or haven't been updated after all these years. So yeah, this is I know it's exhausting to talk about, and I can't even believe that we keep. Granted, it is a hot topic, and it was more of a hot topic a few months ago, and then something happens where we quit talking about it, kind of, and then if we don't bring it up like we're doing right now, it'll just go and it'll just continue.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's why for me, there's so many topics I can't cover them all, and everybody else can't cover them all. So it's like having somebody like yourself who's reaching out to Troy and these different people. It's like, okay, you're more focused. It feels like on the culture, because politics is downstream of culture. So how do we change the way that society's going? We change the culture of the society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like I said, parents don't step up and get involved. And the other side of that is then you got some parents that are the cause of some of this, and it's like, I don't know what happened to people. It's all about generation. And that generation this and that generation that. But what generation is it that wants to sexualize these kids so much, and why?
Right. That's the thing for me, is like, why? Like I think about this all the time, and I'm like, okay, what would be the purpose of this? Because like when I was in school, you never heard about this. You never heard about transgender kids and or transgender in general. And honestly, racism wasn't even really a thing when I was in school. Were there bullies? Of course, there was
Yeah.
bullies. There's bullies everywhere. There's bullies today. But, and I hate to say this, and I don't really know how else to word it, but I kind of feel like that whole transgender thing is an emotional state, where, you know, if somebody like comes forward and says, like Manny, like if I was to come, if you were to come to me tomorrow and be like, oh, I think I might want to be a woman, or I feel like a woman, I'd be like, Manny, you probably should go get some help. Maybe you should go talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I love you, man. But I can't support that. And, you know, I'll go with you. I'll go with you to, you know, get some help. Not, all right, buddy, let's go pick out some clothes and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, I hate to say this, and again, I hope people are forgiving because I don't really know how to word this, but I think that the emotional state is weak. And I think that people that have power, they want to play on those people that are in that weak emotional state. So if they can get everybody, or not everybody, but certain individuals into that state where they think that they can make them feel like, well, you're not really a man, or you're not really a woman. That's kind of like, you're kind of collecting these people to where you can control them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's right now it's kind of widespread, but think about it this way: the more you talk people into thinking that there's something that they're not, the more control you're going to have in general. And I kind of feel like that's where it's going right now. 6-year-old kids, they care about Legos and going to Chuck E. Cheese and learning how to play soccer, or, you know what I mean? They don't care about this ideology, and they should not be involved in any sort of sexualization.
Yeah.
I think that anybody that involves them in that, they should be immediately hauled off to jail.
Yeah.
So,
and, gender dysphoria is a very real clinical diagnosis. When you start dealing with gender and the disillusionment of what your gender is, that is gender dysphoria. And there is help out there. So, honestly, if people reach out for help, they will find it.
Mm-hmm.
So didn't we talk about this before somewhere, Troy? Melissa says, my question is that if a student brings it up, the teacher may need to address it. So wasn't there something going around a law? I don't know if it's I don't think it's a national law. In some school district, if the child opens up to a teacher, the teacher's got no obligation to come to the parent. Like if the kid says, oh, you know what, I want to wear lipstick, but my mom won't let me, or my dad, you know. And I think I'm a parent. Yeah, you got to tell me that stuff. You know, let me talk to my kid about it.
Right.
But teachers are being put in a position where they don't have to tell anybody. And that's bothersome in itself.
Well, I know what you're saying, and I think that maybe that should be something that should be put in some sort of bill or something, where if a child comes to a teacher or an educator or a staff member and says something like that, that person needs to be instructed to say, look, I cannot discuss this with you, and this is something that you need to talk to your mom or your dad about. And then right away, the parents should be contacted and
or even talk to a counselor, right? And then let the counselor deal with it with the parent or something like that.
Yeah, right. Or talk. I mean, there's counselors in school for a reason. You can't just free willingly start discussing things with someone else's child that you have no business doing that with, or withholding information from a mom or a dad that's very important and vital to their child's life. I mean, to me, that's almost endangering the welfare of a child. Where do we have boundaries for endangering the welfare of a child?
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just crazy to me to think that, you know, my son could go to school and say, you know, something along the lines of, you know, I want to wear lipstick, or, you know, I like high heels, or I feel this way. And the teacher maybe saying, oh, okay, that's good. What color lipstick do you like? You know, or like, to me, that's disturbing,
Yeah.
you know? And then to think that I'm not going to find out,
Right.
like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. Like that's a big deal. That's not a little minor deal. The other problem I think, with gender dysphoria is I think that term is getting handed out too frequently, too easily, because somebody has a thought of, I don't know, for whatever reason they like to wear the dress or lipstick or get made up. So they're automatically categorized that, oh yeah, they've got gender dysphoria. But that might not be the case. That just might be something you're going through, and a year later you may not be that anymore. You know, I think it's getting, people are getting categorized like that too quickly and too easily. You know, just like young people, kids can play with dolls, boys can play with dolls, girls can play with trucks, but that doesn't mean anything. You know, in a few days or in a few weeks, they're back to playing with their own toys, and even if they want to play with trucks or dolls or whatever, okay, you're a boy, but you can play with dolls if you want to. I don't, you know, play with your sister, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think for the social cause of it, they're trying to categorize people as that they are gender. They suffer from gender dysphoria.
They don't want to categorize gender dysphoria at all. They actually want to remove that completely from the clinical textbooks. That's the thing. They want to erase anything that could even categorize anybody.
Yeah.
In that field, because they want to normalize all of that.
And Jessica's right. Jessica says, no disrespect to anyone, but some counselors in school are not necessarily interested in going to stretch to help. They need to be changed to academic advisors. Yeah, I get that too. And, you know, there are people who don't want to deal with it at all. And the people that are dealing with it aren't really educated on how to deal with it.
Well, I mean, most school districts do not have the actual ability to hire a full-time psychologist that it would take. And if they did, they would have to hire a whole team of them.
Yeah, I mean, just we're talking about the kind of, you know, school boards already say they don't have money in the budget. And do you think they're going to hire a psychologist, on-staff psychologist?
I mean, that would be expensive.
Yeah, but they shouldn't have to, though, either.
Right.
Like the school, I feel like the schools, they're putting, if they don't want that burden on them, then they shouldn't be promoting this stuff in school.
Absolutely.
I mean, it shouldn't be promoted in school anyways. Like, schools shouldn't have psychologists. Like, the kids just need to be kids, and you know, they need to have their family life separated from the education part. You know, like when I was in school, I could never go to my teacher and talk about her about her personal life. Like, are you married? Do you have kids? Like, what business is that of mine?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but today it's almost like a lot of these teachers are like opening up their purse. I don't know if you've seen this in the last like 3 or 4 days. There's been multiple teachers throughout the United States that have been charged with having sex with students.
Yeah, there was one. Was it California? Was it California or somewhere on the East Coast?
And as young as 12 years old. As young as 12 years old. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, if somebody did anything to my kids at that, like, guess who's going to jail? Me.
Yeah.
We're both going to jail, and you better hope that we're not sharing a cell.
right? And I take this all this whole topic we're talking about right now. I trace it back to the participation trophy. Remember that? Remember when that started?
Mm-hmm.
When it didn't matter if little Johnny lost or he didn't get his medal because for whatever reason. Oh, it's okay. Here, we're gonna give you one anyway, and that is where it started. People want to talk about being privileged. Like, I deserve something anyway. That's where that started.
I really like this comment.
Right now on TVs, they are pushing trans and gays and the adverts. Turn off your TVs. I mean, even I did notice that they are showing a lot more, like in scenarios where there's a family or a couple sitting eating or whatever. It's turned into a lot of gay couples or same-sex couples. Even that does, I don't care about that stuff. It's when you're for me, it's when you're aiming at children and you're trying to sexualize them or targeting them in some way.
And they are doing that in like the cartoons.
Yeah.
And that's why. So, just for the sake of the audience, I grew up without a TV in my home.
Without a TV. And we learned how to play outside. And we did. Oh yeah, I was outside. That's the same good call. Exactly. I was out. I wasn't inside all the time. I was only at night. Once it got dark, I'd come in and watch TV. I'd get home and do homework, maybe watch a cartoon or two, and then was run outside and play ball.
Well, growing up, I didn't have that luxury. I got home, did my homework, and then we were out there feeding the animals or doing whatever we were doing. Whatever project my dad had set out for us, that's what we did. But even now, with all the kids that I have 5 children. My oldest is 6 years old. And we don't have a TV.
Yeah.
My kids don't sit there and watch cartoons.
Well, I think parents, just kind of wrapping up here, parents need to get involved more with their kids overall and in every aspect of their lives. I think, and I know it's tough when both parents got to work and everybody's gone at work all day, but so you got to make it work somehow, and get more involved. Even at the basic school board level, get involved there and find out what your kids are learning. And I know some jurisdictions have the curriculum protected, so the parents can't even, if they want to know what are my kids learning, well, we don't have to tell you. That's messed up, first of all, right there alone too.
Yeah.
So now you got the shady teachers who can, I don't have to show them anything. So now I'm going to read them this book or that book or teach them about this or that.
Hey, Manny, real quick. So last week we had a incident at one of our schools. I don't know if you guys heard about it or not. Erie High School had a shooting. A kid went in there with a gun and fired off 8 rounds, hit somebody, shot a kid, ended up being his cousin. He fled, whatever, took him a couple days to find him. But here's where it gets disturbing, right? We talk about mental illness, right? And violence. This school had metal detectors and they removed them. The story that's there now is that they were removed because of COVID, right? So you have your social distancing. You can't have kids piling up. They didn't want people piling up at the doors or whatever. So the school created their own problem. Okay. Yeah. Then they spin it here and they call it teen violence. So they removed the metal detectors. This particular school district received $107 million in COVID funding. $107 million.
Holy crap.
All right. Nothing whatsoever. They even admitted it in their board docs. Nothing to wave off gun violence or put, protocols in to keep the kids safe. That all they were worried about was masking, right? Nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay. Then a few days later, the gym teacher for that same high school was caught trying to solicit sex with a 15-year-old girl,
Ugh.
which what he thought was a 15-year-old girl. He actually was conversing with what he thought was a 15-year-old girl. It wasn't, but he thought it was. He was talking sexually to her, sending her inappropriate pictures. This is a teacher, mind you. Okay. Then agreed to meet up with her. And when he went to the house, it was 2 adult men. And of course they called the police and they had him arrested. But parents really need to wake up. There's a lot of things happening in schools right now. And to me, everything starts at home. Everything starts at home.
Yep.
And, you can do so many things to protect your kids. And I think a lot of people, send their kids to school and they don't really care what's going on. I mean, I used to coach football. I used to coach youth football. And I'd have some of these kids on my team, right, that would just literally sit on the sideline. They didn't even want to participate in practice. So I'd go and I'd sit down next to them and be like, hey, what's going on? How come you don't want to practice? Well, my mom and dad made me sign up for this and I didn't want to do it. And, so then you talk to the parents, right? And the parents would be like, well, I need me time. So I signed them up to just to get them out of the house to go do something. So, I could go do this or I could go do that. That's like that's the worst thing I could ever have heard. You put your kid into something that they don't even want to do just so you could go have your time. Like, you're a parent and your job is to protect your child from the moment you hold them until you don't have life anymore. So I'm like really shocked as to what's going on right now. And I can't do it for everyone. And the 30 or 40 people here in Erie County, that are constantly involved. I mean, our coalitions, we have close to 3,000 parents in them, and like you said, Manny, I think every community needs to have coalitions. I'm sure that they do, but anybody that's watching this right now, I can only encourage you to form them. People will get on board. You can do things to change. You can be a big part of changing things in your community. But it's going to take a heck of a lot more than 30 or 40 people. It's going to take hundreds of thousands of people to make a change.
So how do people get more information on how to get something like that set up? Because I know there's a lot of people who are going to watch this later and they're going to say, okay, we heard you. Where can we get more information? So they can learn from you guys who have already set up these organizations so they can do it in their own community as well.
Well, for starters, when we started off with literally like 6 of us, and we met with Greg Hayes, who is actually running for state representative here in Pennsylvania. He opened up his office to us. He allowed us to conduct meetings there, and we just grew from there. We came up with a name. We came up with, what we wanted to do in the community as far as, advocating for parental choice, parental rights. And Manny has all my information. So if anybody would like more information, they can get a hold of Manny, they can contact me anytime. I can send them links to our groups and they can see what we're doing. We're doing a lot of things. And right now, Shane, I don't know if you're kind of familiar with what's going on here, but there's a group of parents in Bucks County that we've been talking to, and we actually retained a lawyer back in like June or July, and he's been very helpful. He has served our school districts with a letter of intent to sue. He served our county executive. because they had an illegal mask mandate on the kids. And this same lawyer, Chad Schnee, he actually litigated the lawsuit that was filed against Governor Wolf and Allison Beam here in Pennsylvania. They put an illegal mask mandate on the kids, and he litigated it, and the Commonwealth won. Then it went to the Supreme Court and won there, and the mask mandate was removed. But the school boards continued to do it even though they didn't have the authority. So now parents across Pennsylvania, there's another lawsuit now that's in the Commonwealth, and it's actually the PDE, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, has officially been sued, which means that all 500 school districts in Pennsylvania are sued for their illegal masking protocols. We're just basically waiting for a date right now. And it's actually a big deal because clearly it's the first ever of its kind lawsuit. Yeah. And if we win, it's going to really send shockwaves through Pennsylvania, because now you're going to see school board members being sued for violation of their oath of office. So if people could start doing that kind of thing in their community, I mean, the state of Pennsylvania, like I said, the entire Department of Education's officially sued. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And what I'm gonna do is we're actually building out the website now. What I'm gonna do is get some of that information from Manny, and then we'll put it up on the website as well, just so people have the ability to get a hold of you through Facebook or other means.
Troy said Troy always makes himself available, along with Ponch. Ponch also, between both of them, they can help you out and show you the resources, and so people can get something like this going everywhere. I think if there was more of these, we'd be better off, and all the kids would be better off as well.
And the other thing too, Shane, that can be done is, and it's happening here in Pennsylvania right now, and it's actually an effective strategy. We have, under our public school code, under its title section 318, it's called neglect of duty. You can actually petition a court to remove school board members who voted to mask kids. And right now, there are parents that are doing it in districts, and they're actually getting the board members removed. And if you get them removed, you replace them with like-minded people. And that's where the change needs to happen.
Yeah, a lot of things need to happen, and it's only going to happen when people get more involved. All right, guys, we are at just over the hour mark. Hey, this was a great freaking conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
This was definitely awesome. We should have this again. If some of these topics warrant their own program, and things keep coming up in the news that seem to be normally would be shocking. It's more like again, or this is still going on. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more to talk about, and we'll have another program coming up later in the week. I'll be on tonight at 10:30 with my usual little. Tonight, I'm again discussing the Melissa Lucio case here in Texas. She is a Hispanic woman. She's set to be the first Hispanic woman to be put to death and here in Texas. She's scheduled to go to be executed on April 27th, and there are a lot of appeals and a lot of paperwork that's been submitted on her behalf to look at evidence. She truly is innocent. I've streamed the documentary. It's on my page. It's there. You can watch it if you like. And so I'll be talking about that tonight. If you're interested, it'll be great to see you there. Shane, thanks, buddy. I appreciate you putting this all together.
Yep, and we will be airing that tonight on Patriot News Network as well. So
awesome.
Stay tuned. You said 10 Central?
10:30 Central Time. Yep.
Okay, so 10:30 Central Time. We'll be airing that. So.
Thank you, Shane. It was nice meeting you and talking to you.
Yeah, and I'll have to chat with you privately one of these days.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely. Thank you, Manny, too. And you know what, Manny, I just want to say something real quick. I want to thank you because I know that you don't have any kids. and I think it's
Well,
great.
they're older now. They're gone. But
Well,
yeah,
but I mean, like, you don't have any younger kids,
small
and
kids, yeah.
you know, I'm just thank you for being an advocate and you know, giving us this platform. It means a lot to me and the parents that, you know, are fighting with me. It means a lot to us to have you have our back.
Yeah, no, hey, anything I can do, you know, because I keep thinking, what if mine were school age right now? You know, this is where I'd want to be. I'd want to be talking about this. I'd want to be involved. So anything I can do to help, I'm totally in. Count me in every time.
And that's kind of where I was at last night when Manny and I were talking. I was just like, Manny, you have a great message. Everything that you're doing is great. I absolutely love what you're doing. I said, I want to take you to a bigger audience. And he's like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, as long as we get the word out, that's the most important thing, is to get the
So-
word out on important topics. You know, whether it's protecting our children or whether it's, you know, innocent people that are on death row that shouldn't be on death row. And I'm not trying to pull everybody off death row. You know, I'm very pro death penalty, believe it or not. But for me, and I keep saying this over and over and over again, I'm pro death penalty, but it's got to be airtight, 1000% perfect. There can't be no mistakes. And in this case, in the case of Melissa Lucio, there is a mistake, and there are a few more like that. So, but we'll get into that tonight. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. Everyone who watched, interacted this past hour and 10 or 15 minutes, appreciate you. Look for more shows like this, and I welcome all opinions. There's a certain way I lean, all right, but I welcome everybody. I don't cancel people. I don't block people. I only block you if you're an a-hole. If you're an a-hole, then we'll have a problem. but if you can be cool and straight and polite and, you know, don't be nasty, your opinion is welcome here no matter what it is. Everyone, have a great night. It's 8:13 out on the East Coast. Thank you all again, Troy, Shane. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
We'll talk again in a little while.
All right,
Everyone,
thanks.
have a great night. Thanks for participating tonight.